is irrational. With all due respect to the governor of Texas, irrational what they're doing. On the very day you see a mass shooting, I guess the numbers now, I was on a plane the last 2.5 hours, they got up to 5 killed, and we're talking about loosening access to have guns, be able to take them into places of worship, store them in school. I mean, it's just absolutely irrational. It's totally irrational.
Live stream video captures the moment a gunman wearing a dark hoodie emerges from a back pew, drawing his gun and firing inside this Texas church during Sunday morning service. The gunshots sparking panic in the pews, worshipers seen ducking for cover, one man covering his wife with his own body. 6 seconds into the shooting, 2 members of the church security team returned fire, hitting the gunman, dropping him to the ground. The 911 calls came shortly before 11 a.m.
Active threat, 1900 South Las Vegas Trail.
Inside the church, at least 5 other parishioners pulled out handguns and carefully approached the fallen gunman. One man kicks away his gun and picks it up.
It was a sad thing that he had to come into that congregation and hurt people, and it's a sad thing that we had to hurt him.
We're going to need help with patient care.
2 churchgoers and the gunman were killed.
The citizens who were inside that church undoubtedly saved 242 other parishioners.
One woman said her mother, a longtime member of the church, saw the suspect and noticed something was wrong.
The shooter was sitting next to my mother. She knew from growing up at the church that she didn't recognize this gentleman.
Outside, law enforcement secured the area as parishioners, visibly shaken, consoled one another.
We lost 2 great men today, but it could have been a lot worse.
Today, evil walked boldly among us. But let me remind you, good people raised up and stopped it.
What they're doing. On the very day you see a mass shooting, I guess the numbers now, I was on a plane the last 2.5 hours, they got up to 5 killed, and we're talking about loosening access to have guns, be able to take them into places of worship, store them in school. I mean, it's just absolutely irrational. It's totally irrational.
In his pocket, I don't know this for a fact, evidently in his pocket and underneath his armpit, underneath the long coat. I know he discharged 2 rounds and possibly a 3rd round as he was going down, because the 1 round went towards the front of the sanctuary. When after he shot Richard and Tony, he went and started towards the front of the sanctuary, and that's when I was able to engage him, and I fired 1 round.
You had eyes on him the moment he walked in the door?
From the time he walked in the door, we had him eyes on him, both physical eyes and cameras.
Are you processing this? I mean, what are you thinking, or is it just instinct? You see a weapon and you draw yours.
My training, says that if I see a weapon, especially in that scenario, because that is my job, I am the deacon in charge of security at the church, and the people that were on the security team, we have spent numerous hours training and working on just this type of scenario, hoping it never happens. And those people who have known me and been in my classes know from the past, you train, but you hope you never have to go to that extreme. But if you do, your training will kick in, and that was evident yesterday.
You mentioned that you took a pause because there were people in the area.
And there were people in front of me, between the shooter and myself, trying to get, because the chaos that erupted when he shot the first time. Some of the people stood up and were trying to get in the way. I had to wait just a second, because the whole thing was less than 6 seconds from start to finish. And, that was, I had to make sure I didn't hit someone, a member there, as they were right in front of me.
And at any point, did you want to go check on Tony and Richard? You've talked about them right now. It sounds like they were friends.
Because other people were already coming in to check on them, my goal was to make sure the shooter didn't get up. And, when I went over to cover him, I wanted to make sure that he was not going to get up. So that was my focus.
Have guns, be able to take them into places of worship, store them in school. I mean, it's just absolutely irrational. It's totally irrational.
It's a close-knit congregation. It is a close, family type situation. So, I'm concerned and I'm upset for that. I don't feel like I killed a human. I killed an evil.
Take me back to yesterday, if you can. And I know that so many people have seen that video, that live
Right.
stream. When did you first realize that something was wrong?
When the individual first entered the building, there was concern. Red, kind of the flags went up. The individual was wearing a three-quarter coat, long coat, and had on a fake beard and a fake wig and a toboggan on that. At that point, made the security team members aware that there is, we need to, pay a little more attention to this individual. Went into the audio visual, actually had them turn a camera specifically on him, from that room, where they could actually, watch him. One of the individuals that was, shot yesterday, Richard, is also on the security team. He was sitting behind him about 4 feet to his right on the chairs on the back wall. The individual was sitting in the middle of the back pew on the far south side of the building. After I made sure one of the other security team members was, in position outside in the foyer area, I went in and was standing about 10, 12 feet to Richard's right, just standing at the wall watching the individual. I could see the individual's right hand the whole time. Never saw him do a whole lot with his left hand. He had got up, went to the restroom, come back, sat back down. Then he got up on two occasions, talked to Tony, who was serving communion, waiting on, and then when he sat back down the second time, shortly after that, he stood up, turned, and produced a shotgun. But at that time, Richard and I were both already drawing our weapons. Richard did get his gun out of the holster. He was, I think, able to get a shot off, but it ended up going into the wall. The shooter had turned and shot him and then shot Tony, and then had started to turn to go towards the front of the auditorium. And at that time, when he first, shot Tony, I didn't have a clear window because I had, members that were jumping, going chaotic, standing up. I had to wait about a half second or a second to get to get my shot. I fired one round. The subject went down, and he, was there. I went to, cover him. At that point, I kicked the shotgun back behind me, put it against the wall. It still felt like it was, ammo in it. I don't know how many rounds were in it. I don't know if he had any more ammo in his pockets. I haven't been given that information by law enforcement yet. By that time, when I got over there to cover him, there was 5, maybe 6 other individuals that are on the security team that already had their guns out, drawn on him too. The individual did not make any attempt to get up. Instinct, I guess, is the best way I know to put it, gut feel, however you want to call it. There was concern that, there was a possible threat.
From the moment he walked in?
From the moment he walked in, yeah.
Right now, there's a war.
All due day, you see a mass shooting. I guess the numbers now, I was on a plane the last 2.5 hours, they got up to 5 killed. And we're talking about loosening access to have guns, be able to take them into places of worship, store them in school. I mean, it's just absolutely irrational. It's totally irrational.